Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Rock Force. In the last part, I defeated Charade Man and Circuit Man, and the remains of all 8 Robot Masters combined into 4 new Robot Masters. So, as I just said in my last part, I'll be going after Terror Man first. Terror Man being the fusion of Fuse Man and Crypt Man. But yeah, this stage is basically a robotic junkyard full of explosions. And as it's a fusion of the 2 Robot Masters before, now we basically have the enemy types both from Crypt Man stage and Fuse Man. And some new ones here, like this enemy type, which is somewhat like a reskin of the flower enemies in Photon Man stage. And those eagles make their sordid return. Of course, now that I actually have Photon Man's weapon, they're much more easy to dispatch. But I decided to conserve weapon energy for a bit later. But really this part is this is basically the second part of the game. Now we basically have to take on 4 type of Robot Masters, and we have access to pretty much all the weapons. Of course, I missed one of the special weapons as it didn't get perfects on 4 of the bosses. I'll be covering that once I finish all the fusion bosses. But I really do like the aesthetics of how they create the new stages. Seeing combining Fuse Man's Crypt Man basically makes a crypt of robotics. So in other words, explosions and robotic parts everywhere. Less based off of human remains, more based off robotic remains. Which has some of the skeleton in, but we'll be actually visiting the crypt later on. Really, I would like to take this time to talk more about the weapons. Before, I didn't really have the chance to because of getting interrupted. A leader came or other things. Really though, all the weapons of Mega Man Rock Force are pretty good. Dare say, some would say, overpowered. Well, I would agree in some regard, but because of that, they're all useful in some different way or another. In this case, the only weapons that are considered to be a little lackluster are Charade Clone, which is more of a defensive utility, or Shotgun due to its arcing. Of course, on the other hand, there's things like the Phantom Fuse, or Pulse Stopper, or even the Photon Flare, which are really powerful. In this room, these 2 walls of spikes slowly try closing onto you, and you have to try dodging those spikes. These robotic zombies will come up at those green junk blocks, so once you get close to one, make sure to charge up your Buster and wail on them, or just use the Photon Flare explosive weaponry. At this point, because of how special weapons regenerate energy per stages, you can pretty much keep using your weapons liberally. But going back to the special weapons point, all of them are useful in some regard, and unlike quite a few other Mega Man games, I feel they all have their own niche that can be very helpful. Even the Shock Gauntlet has the ability to catch weapon pellets or energy recharges, and the Charade Clone acts like a insurance, which I'll be demonstrating in the next part. And of course, the OP weapons of the game are really OP, like the Phantom Fuse because of its arcing pattern, being able to control it like a snake. But because of these, I like the entire selection, which is great, as quite a few Mega Man fan games fail to have such good arsenal. Anyways, starting from this room, as we're still on hard difficulty, these suns will start chasing us, which you can actually just one-hit kill thanks to the Phantom Flare, a Photon Flare. Sorry, I keep mixing it up with my favorite weapon. I decided to just skip this hard section just to use Rush. Cool to jump over this. But really, I still find it funny that 3 weapons especially are emphasized compared to the others. Those being the Crypt Cloak, either the Phantom Fuse or the Circuit Breaker, and maybe the Shock Gauntlet. Especially the Crypt Cloak, as it's used in many different sections. Anyways, follow what Luckman does here, and the warning signs as something will be coming in. Whoop, there's a Mega Man 5 or 6 final boss. Make sure to duck under, take cover over here, Otherwise, it's a one-hit kill. But yeah, I find it funny the Crypt Cloak is useful for so many different situations in this game. From those white blocks to skipping through the harder sections. I find it a little bit over-prevalent in some regards, as there should be a little bit more representation of other weapons. Anyways, in this section, you have to basically hit this robotic worm with enough firepower so that it gets defeated, and then it will go take a certain route out of the 4. Follow it several times, and you'll be able to get through this puzzle room, or maze room. Now normally, in normal difficulty and easy difficulty, you don't have those suns chasing after you. So, to make these things easier, I decided to just use the circuit breaker so I could just one-shot it. Remember though, if you make one mistake, you'll have to restart this entire maze section over. And there we go. We passed this. And here's the home stretch for the stage. It's also the hardest part, because the robotic zombies, the combination of robotic zombies, those skeleton statues, and those eagle dropping bombs from the top. I strongly suggest you use either the Valor Outbreak, the Photon Flare, Circuit Breaker, or especially the Photon Flare, or Phantom Fuse. Mainly because it hits everything. Anything that can stop these explosive weapons from getting through is the best option. And the reason why I'm also using the Circuit Breaker more prevalently here compared to, let's say, the Phantom Fuse is that Phantom Fuse would freeze me in mid-air, meaning that I could fall under a pit if I'm not careful enough. Whereas I can use Circuit Breaker while running and jumping, which makes it very useful. Also, I do like the ability of using the Pulse Stopper, as it absorbs these fireball shots, as well as being able to fire in all 8 directions like the Metal Blade. Too bad it doesn't protect against explosive type damage. And as usual, using Eddie. I forgot to mention earlier, but Eddie's repertoire of what he brings is dependent on the difficulty settings. In previous modes, he overgave people E-tanks, so now, depending on the difficulty, he'll either give lesser amounts of life energy, and on easy modes he'll give much more E-tanks or full life energies. Anyways, here's Terror Man. Basically, he's a spider. He basically has 3 maneuvers, or 4 of them. The first one is when he jumps up and fires those 3 spines at the ground. The second one is when he raises his arms and drops 2 spider bombs to the left and right parts of the screen, like here. Make sure you can there easy to feel. One is when he jumps to some part of the screen, raises his arms, and fires 2 sets of spines. And the last one is when he jumps to the ceiling, hanging from a spider web, and he rushes down to the ground. And when he does so, he fires the spines left and right at him. He does this 3 or 4 times every cycle, and he always tries locking on to what position you are, horizontal position you were once you go on him. So just try sliding on. Overall, he's rather predictable and not too bad of a boss. Fitting really, as Crypt Man was pretty predictable, as well as Fuse Man. Personally, he's the easiest out of the 4 Robot Masters to fight. But be careful on his strategies. It only gets tougher from here. And he's down. Also, I do like the fact that the stage win music has changed from the Mega Man 3 level complete music to the Mega Man 2 level complete music. Seems rather fitting as the stakes have been raised. And instead of getting a new weapon, we basically get the Robot Master's head displayed on the save screen. Kinda grim. Anyways, time to go after Plague Man now. Plague Man being the fusion of Pulse Man and ironically Virus Man. I say ironically because Plague Man's weakness is the viral outbreak, which is gotten from Virus Man. So yeah, kind of odd. Those mosquitoes will drink from the ground, get fat, and start shooting at you. Those frogs, if you destroy them normally, they'll release 3 parasites, or fleas. If you get hit by those fleas, you'll be infected, just like the bacteriophages in Virus Man stage. So to destroy them, you should use explosive weaponry, such as the Phantom Fuse, or just use a screen nuke, like the Photon Flare. But yeah, his nomiker says, Plague Man is basically a biomedical facility full of viruses and acid, it seems. I do like how peaceful and calm and dramatic the music sounds. It makes it sound somewhat sad as well as somber, but it's one of my most favorite tracks of this game, barring the final one, which we'll be getting to in a long while. But yeah, the Fusion Robot Masters, they have different weaknesses compared to the original ones. Also, like what was demonstrated in Terror Man stage, at this point in the game, from this point onward, the Rock Force helps Mega Man, and members of the Rock Force help Mega Man in different parts of the stage. Tornado Man helped us here collect the E-Tank, though I could have just used Rush Coil. And Elect Man, back in Terror Man stage, demonstrated we should run immediately so we don't get instant. Here's a Block Snake segment. I died so many times in this from misjudging, just be careful about this. Moving. Here's where the Block Snake segment gets more devious. Though thankfully in hard mode they didn't add any enemies, otherwise it would be even more of a pain. Unless they have Mercy Invincibility. Because of how the options work, you can actually turn the invincibility completely off in this game. Though during my test runs with it, I strongly recommend not doing it so you don't get stun locked dead all the time. You also have the other ability of changing how much damage enemies do, from half damage to double to instant dead, as well as how much damage your pellets do, which can lead to some pretty interesting combinations. But for this one, I just went for a simple hard mode for levels, bosses, as well as the hard mode for the levels, the bosses, as well as Mega Man 2 invincibility for some spines. And now for some reason we have the blocks from Circuit Man's stage here. Strange, this is not Circuit Man's fusion, but we have it here. I just wanted to be very careful and stand in between the acid and be able to jump over these, so I don't get killed in one hit. It was a bit too close for comfort. And just like Circuit Man's stage, these blocks can only be destroyed using projectile weaponry, or explosive weaponry, but projectile weaponry like the Viral Outbreak makes this much simpler. Also, the Viral Outbreak can absorb those acid blobs. And here's Tornado Man again. Thanks. We'll be seeing more members of that soon enough. Anyways, here's Plague Man, or as I like to call him, Broken Arm Man and Vomit Man. His first strategy is when you hit him once, he'll break off his arms, and those arms will act like frogs. After you do enough damage to Plague Man, you'll knock off his proboscis or mouthpiece, which will knock down his two arms to the bottom of the floor and start his second phase. He'll walk a while and then release a stream of vomit, Plague Vomit, though it cannot infect you thankfully. And while he releases a string of vomit, one of his hands or arms will race up from the bottom and target your current position. Just duck under it or jump over to avoid getting hit. Overall, he's less predictable than Terror Man for sure, especially in his first phase with the arms. But other than that, he isn't too difficult to defeat. And he's down. Seems kind of funny though, Virus Man was such a pain in the original version, yet when fused with Pulse Man, he's much more manageable. Though I don't see where the Pulse gimmick in this stage came from. Oh well, something got lost there. But anyways, we've defeated Terror Man and Plague Man. In the next part, I'll be taking on the last two Fusion Robot Masters, both Power Man and Flare Man. Thanks for watching, viewers, and have a nice day. Doodles!